So I've been reviewing Disney Channel original movies for a while on this channel now, and for the most part, I haven't really done anything earlier than the mid 2000s. And really, that is mainly because I always just kind of figured my audience wouldn't be interested in something older than that, considering my channel demographics. But I wanted to at least test the waters by covering something a little older to see if there's actually an interest. I made a poll filled with some of the more great-headed Disney Channel original movies, and Smart House seemed to be what you guys wanted, so it's time for me to deliver. And this movie is old, dude. Like, it's so old, I couldn't find a 1080p version of it. I'm rocking with the 720 right now.
I'm in the ghetto.
I know a lot of people like to use the word unk nowadays, especially the kiddies. And typically I'm against it just because they don't even be using it right. Someone called me unk because I said I saw High School Musical 3 in theaters, which came out in like 2008. Like, I'm not unk, you're just literally a fetus. But I do think Smart House is definitely one of the unks of Disney Channel. This was made pre-Even Stevens, so this is before Disney Channel really started popping off with their original shows. It was just Jet Jackson and The Jersey back then, and you probably only heard of one of those. But regardless, we're here. Smart House, I think, might end up being a good choice because despite its age, it's still really iconic and definitely one of Disney's earliest hits. So it's time we go back in time farther than we've ever traveled before to talk about it and see if it still holds up 26 years later.
Ben Cooper has just won a computerized home for his family.
We won?
Complete with a cyber housekeeper programmed by the clever inventor Sarah Barnes. But when Dad starts dating her, emotions run haywire.
I don't want anyone to get the idea that we need a new mom.
And Ben's not the only one threatened.
You can't be our mother, Pat. You're not real. So?
Now, this smart family has to pull together to deprogram a very smart house. This summer, visit the latest Disney Channel original movie, Smart House. A Saturday premiere on Magical World of Disney, June 26th at 7, 6 Central.
Smart House premiered on Disney Channel on June 26, 1999. Great year. Ed, Edd n Eddy, SpongeBob, The Matrix, Things Fall Apart by the Roots. What y'all know about that? The movie stars Ryan Merriman, who was a bit of a Disney Channel legend, appearing in 3 Disney Channel original movies. He was also in an episode of Smallville, like every other young actor in the 2000s. Also in this movie is Katie Volding, who's appeared in her fair share of DCOMs as well, like Brink. Fun fact, I don't know why they did this, but more than a few times, whenever she'd get cast in a movie, they just give her her actual name, which is weird. Though this movie is different, they finally decided to switch things up this time around. Katie Sagal is probably the last truly notable person that appears in this movie, as she had a starring role in Married with Children, which lasted for 10 years. You know what is really sick though? This movie is directed by the one and only LeVar Burton, the absolute GOAT. I got so excited when I saw his name in the opening credits. The Reading Rainbow. Okay, so the movie centers around 13-year-old Ben Cooper, who, since his mother passed away, has seen an increased load of work in his daily routine, such as cooking dinner and picking up his sister from her friend's house. You'd think he'd appreciate having someone else around to do all this, but it's actually quite the opposite. See, ever since his mom died, he's been pretty adamant on his dad not remarrying, which is obviously very common for kids put in this situation. He fears that his dad will forget all about his mom and try to replace her, so because of that, he's pretty content with his expanded role, even if it means having a lot more responsibility than the average 13-year-old and sacrificing his own interests. All of this gets changed though when he finds out about this contest that's being organized by a local inventor, where the winner receives their very own smart house for free. This house would solve all of their issues though. Not only would it be the help that Ben realistically needs, but it also wouldn't come at the cost of a new stepmom, hence why he's so locked in on trying to win it, submitting multiple entries a day. We're also introduced to Ben's dad, Nick.
Now you can finally start to relax, and you can start dating so we can have a new mom.
Why would you want to do that?
I mean, later that day during the selection process, Ben actually does end up winning, but because of the fact that he fell asleep while using the internet, the people behind the contest weren't able to contact him via phone, because this is the 90s, in case you forgot. So it's not until the next morning at school when Ben walks into his class and sees everyone treat him like how they did Corey in that one episode of Boy Meets World when he realizes he might have won. But that's right, it's strictly 90s references from this point onwards in the video. Ben sees the newspaper article confirming his selection and immediately talks to his dad about it. He's very skeptical at first, as he should be, but it's not until he sees the inventor of the house where he considers that maybe this is legit. Sarah Barnes is played by Jessica Steen. She was in something called Heartland, I guess. Maybe you've seen it. The house is run by an AI named Pat, which stands for Personal Applied Technology, something we find out during a press conference held outside of the house. Sarah also mentions that despite the house being super teched out in advance, it's still pretty intuitive, meaning anyone could use it despite their heavy or light background in technology. And what's great is that Pat caters to all of their needs, even adapting and learning as time goes on.
Ow! You didn't tell me that thing was gonna bite me.
Well, yeah, then you wouldn't have to put your hand on it. I ain't ever pet a dog after someone says it'll likely take my hand off. Jokes aside, that bite was just used to gain access to her DNA and medical history, something that is 100% needed in order for Pat to fully care for her and everyone else's needs. Sarah then proceeds to give them a tour of the rest of the house, which consists of a projection room, a very state-of-the-art kitchen filled with food materializers, smoothie machines, and a self-cleaning floor. After seeing all of this, the Cooper family, especially Nick, is sold. They will in fact be moving in. And it's a kids movie, so they don't go over anything regarding how or if they sold their old house, because details like that just aren't necessary.
Hey, shouldn't I maybe have your number in case, any questions come up about the house?
Nah, I know what you up to, my guy. I ain't mad at you. Matter of fact, dab me up. So this dude, Ben, thanks to one of the features of the house, uses a basketball shot clock as an alarm to wake him up, which is amazing. Hey, Knicks fans, what do you think of this alarm? Angie, on the other hand, uses something much different for her alarm. Dude, I have never once seen Mickey Mouse mentioned or shown in any Disney Channel original anything. It's so weird how they don't do this more often, but knowing Disney, there's probably something preventing that from happening. They're pretty protective over the Mickey Mouse brand. That's one of the reasons why he hasn't received a theatrical film in ages. At school, we get some good old-fashioned bullying done by this dude named Ryan.
I got 2 words for you, Cooper. You're dead mean.
I love it, man. I love it. Ain't nothing better than that classic, give me your lunch money or I'll give you a swirly type bullying. That's the best kind. We gotta bring that type of bullying back into society, bro. Cyberbullying is for lames. Kids gotta be shoved in lockers again. What was it my man Eddie said?
A little childhood trauma builds character.
Pat was basically the OG ChatGPT. So instead of Ben doing the homework that Ryan requests every week, he lets Pat do it, saving him a lot of time and a potential beatdown. In this scene, we also meet some more characters like Ben's friends Charlie and Johnny, plus his crush Gwen, who thanks to his new house is giving him a lot of attention, even asking for an invite to it. Back at the house, the Coopers start talking about how great it is, that now, thanks to Pat, they get to spend more time together. Nick doesn't have to leave his house for work anymore, so he's always home when they get back from school. But this high that the characters are on, thanks to the incredible piece of technology that they live in, doesn't last for much longer, as they're introduced to Pat's first glitch. It's not that bad. Probably just need to turn it off and on again.
A few moments later.
Yeah, never mind. I don't think that's gonna help much. Eventually, the glitch stops, and Pat confesses that due to some technical difficulties, smoothie making is temporarily disabled. And although it's technically not a big deal, it's still enough to make the Coopers wonder if their dream home might just be too good to be true.
We'll be back with the Disney Channel original movie, Smart House. Let's get back to the Disney Channel original movie, Smart House.
Nick convinces Sarah to come over so she can take a look at the house, but we see that this was really just a way to have her come over for dinner.
Are you a genius?
I believe she is.
I know you do. I know you do. Ben starts acting like a jerk to Sarah, which prompts her to make a bit of an early exit to avoid things getting awkward.
No, that's okay. You know what? I should probably head home and feed my pet rat his dinner.
You've got a rat?
Yes, named Butler. Rat Butler. Get it?
No, she didn't get it. She's like 4. Later, Nick goes into Ben's room to check up on him and really just ask how he's handling adjusting to his new role. Ben says that everything is fine, but Nick highly doubts that and even wonders if he's been taking advantage of him. He then brings up how despite his love for basketball, Ben has never applied for the school's team. And although Ben says it's because he's just, busy with stuff, deep down Nick knows that he's been using him a little too much. But Ben mentions the fact that things should get easier now since they have Pat, By the time she really gets to know everyone in the house, hypothetically would be more motherly than all of the moms on the block put together. And to ensure that this is the case, Ben decides to teach her everything she needs to know about parenting and motherhood by showing her classic TV sitcoms, all of which, although not being real, are heavily inspired by actual shows. This might have been a good move because now Pat is on her game. Even her voice sounds a little Barbara Billingsley-y. Technically not a 90s reference, but whatever. She scolds Angie for not brushing her teeth long enough and goes on a little spiel about vitamins and whatnot. One of the biggest ways she shows her newfound maternal instinct, though, is by how she reacts to Ben having a black eye later thanks to his bully Ryan. She becomes very insistent on trying to figure out who this bully is, but Ben just shrugs it off and instead heads to his room where he reminisces on his mom. Wait, that's what his mom looked like? Never mind, I'm kind of with Ben on this one. Ain't no replacing her. Jokes aside, this is actually a really nice scene. Probably one of the better ways a DCOM has dealt with the whole missing parent thing. Like, for the first time ever, I was actually kind of moved. Usually DCOMs don't go through the effort of showing actual footage of dead parents. I actually kind of feel for Ben, man. Wow. Why did Disney stop making the dead parent cliche meaningful? One thing that really shows this movie's age is how much they did not care about product placement. I don't know what changed with Disney Channel exactly, but in the 2000s and onward, you almost never saw actual logos of real companies in their movies. But in this one, you got a whole Mac computer with the Apple logo intact and even a pedigree bag. They did not care about covering stuff like that up, which is really funny to me. After a conversation between Nick and Sarah, centered around finding something fun for Ben to do, Pat decides to take matters into her own, whatever these are, to cheer him up. So she searches the internet for stuff that teenagers like to do and eventually lands on partying. Thinking this is what Ben needs to feel like a real 13-year-old, she decides to send an invite to nearly everyone in his address book for a good old-fashioned shindig. Hey look, it's Face from Nick Jr. So when Nick leaves to go on a date with Sarah, the Cooper kids are met with quite the surprise when Charlie and Johnny pull up with an invite in hand to a party that Ben knew nothing about. And they aren't the only ones on their way. So in order to make sure that only the ones on the invite list enter the house, they make Angie serve as the bouncer. When Ryan pulls up though, Angie says that he's not welcome. But Pat says that not only is he on the guest list, but he's who she's been dying to meet the whole time.
These girls are starters.
Actually, can she make desserts? I'm like completely craving something sweet.
Besides me.
Everything I do.
We later see what Pat was talking about in regards to what she said earlier about being excited to meet Ryan, as this whole thing was actually set up to get back at him for hurting Ben.
You don't have a problem with that, do you, Benny boy?
No, he doesn't. But I do!
This is the first sign of the movie that there's like, you know, something wrong with Pat, because while I definitely think Ryan deserves some sort of comeuppance for what he did to Ben, she kind of takes it to the extreme. You know, it was during this scene when I finally understood why people called this a horror movie. Like, I figured there'd be some sort of evil turn at some point, because that's typically how movies like this go, but even I wasn't expecting, well, that.
Come on, join the house line. Let's party on down, gonna make some time.
I'm not gonna lie, maybe it's because I'm a grown man, but this looks like the worst party ever. Fortunately, I don't have to watch it happen for much longer, because Angie, coming in super clutch, reminds Ben that their dad is coming home in a few minutes, so everyone needs to be escorted out. Surprisingly, getting everyone out wasn't much of an issue, and neither was cleaning up, thanks to Pat's automatic floor cleaners. By the time their dad gets home, everything for the most part is pretty spotless. And he would have gotten away with it too, had it not been for Gwen's jacket that she accidentally left at the house. This discovery leads to a discussion about a broken trust and the judgment skills of the kids. But Angie says that while they did entertain the idea of the party, they weren't the ones that came up with it. It was actually Pat. She even speaks up to say that she was the one that invited everyone from Ben's address book. So Nick starts scolding her too, then ends everything with telling the kids to go to bed. As for Pat, from this point on she agrees to be, in her words, the most responsible maternal figure in town. Something that might not be as good as it sounds. We see the effects of this choice in the next scene, where now Pat is as controlling as ever. And not even really in a loving way. Like, she starts shocking Ben through the doorknob because he's not wearing his shorts properly. On top of that, she even starts to act like a parent to Nick, who definitely is not in the need of any parenting. She forbids him from contacting Sarah just because he hasn't completed his work for the day yet, which is an extreme reaction. Like, bro, he can't just take a little break or something? Sarah swings by again and thinks it's probably best if they just shut down the advanced features of the house for the night. Perhaps all Pat needs is just a little rest. And like last time, this leads to her staying for dinner, this time being cooked the old-fashioned way. The sight, though, causes Ben to feel quite disgusted, and later this leads to a bit of an outburst, something that's been brewing likely for the entire movie at this point. Ben storms upstairs after muttering something about not keeping promises, and his dad quickly follows after him in an attempt to get to the bottom of this once and for all.
You said that you'd never love anyone the way you loved Mom. And you promised you'd never let anybody ever take her place.
And nobody can or wants to take your mother's place, Ben.
But, Dad,
hold on a second. When exactly did I say all this?
Angie was asleep, you were putting me into bed, and you promised.
I actually really love this bit, because although I've never gone through what Ben has gone through, I have had moments as a kid where I remembered oddly specific stuff that emotionally meant a lot to me. But then when I brought it up in front of my parents, it's like it never happened. It's not their fault, and it's not Nick's either. It's not even that he said that promise in an attempt to just calm Ben down, because he obviously meant it. But from Ben's perspective, not only did that promise just mean a lot more to him, it also meant something a bit different. And so as a result, I think they mentioned it's been 4 years since she passed. That flawed idea of what that statement meant has been in Ben's head since he was 9. And just like the memories of his mom, he's held onto it very tightly. The fact that he remembered exactly what was happening around the time his dad made that promise is a great example of that. The emotional moments of this movie have held up surprisingly well, and I definitely wasn't expecting all this when I first watched the movie for this video. Nick acknowledges that everything that they've all been put through is unfair, but they can't just sit around in a cage and refuse to move on. And he doesn't necessarily mention this part, but I don't think Ben's mom would want them to live their life like that either.
All right. Who'd be foolish enough to try and replace your mother, huh?
Virtual. Whoa! Talk about jump scare. Disney, why wouldn't you like ease into that scene or something? Could have at least had an establishing shot first. Anyway, yeah, Pat has gone full Ultron mode and has somehow made herself an actual body.
Pat, take it easy.
Easy? You think I wouldn't rather be taking it easy? But no! I'm too busy keeping up with the Coopers.
Just pretend this reference works, okay? I know the title is a bit different. Leave me alone. Ben walks right through Pat to warn Sarah and Nick about her. And I thought this would be one of those tropes where the main character says something outlandish and nobody believes them until way later. But no, she reveals herself to everyone like immediately after. And then proceeds to kick Sarah out the house with her Doc Ock tentacles.
I'm sorry, I can't do that, Nick.
Now that they're all locked in, both Sarah and the Cooper family must find a way to take Pat down, despite not being able to interact with each other or be in the same place. Pat then says that locking them in is the best solution because of how dangerous and unpredictable the world is. Yet another thing from this movie that's aged incredibly well. The horror elements really start to pick up when this chick starts duplicating herself, bruh. I'm writing this part of the video at 10:41 p.m. and I might not fall asleep tonight, which is unfortunate because I'm supposed to watch an episode for my next big retrospective. Sarah calls her partner Miles to help her out with a plan that she has involving Rat Butler. Here's an idea though. What if you just like blow up the house? Like, yeah, people are gonna die, which is terrible, but like, nah, jokes aside, Ben uses his laptop to reach out to Sarah using the link provided. Through there, they come up with a plan involving Ben faking appendicitis to distract Pat, and Sarah sneaking into the house via the hole that's exposed whenever the arm extends to grab the newspaper. And although things appear to start off smoothly, her plan starts to go south once the security alarm starts to go off. Did you not know that was gonna happen? You're the one that designed it.
All the Coopers think you're way out of control.
I won't stand for this.
Yeah, it's 10:51 now. I ain't going to sleep, bruh. All of this starts to brew into, quite literally, a storm. Yeah, she starts Linda Carter Wonder Woman trolling and everything. Having enough of all this, Ben gets up and tells Pat that she'll never be able to be his mother because she's simply just not real. And that's when Pat is all like, "That's what you've always gotten wrong about me, Ben. I'm as human as anyone. I love, I get scared, I wake up every morning and despite not..." No, let me stop. No, but it's not until Ben explains that what his dad did for him and Angie right there, protecting them physically with his body, is exactly why she'll never be able to be his mom. Because, you know, she ain't got a body. And, I don't know, she kind of just agrees with him and disappears after that. Hooray, maybe I can finally get some sleep now. To be fair, the only reason why Pat was actually acting like this is because Ben kept messing around with her. Now though, since Sarah is basically factory resetting her, she should be good to live with. And like, that's cool and all, but me personally, I would not continue to live there if I were them. But that is in fact what they're doing, with Ben this time.
by Anthony Davis.
With Ben this time being more open to the idea of Sarah being around.
Hey, wait a minute. Don't put any chocolate chips in here.
Let me take a wild guess.
Yeah, that's a horrible way to end a movie, but alright, sure, why not? Okay, despite this movie airing a lot of reruns on Disney, even a decade after its original airing, I had somehow missed it growing up, though I was aware of its existence. So this was my very first time watching this movie, and I think I respected it more than I liked it. Now, Smart House is actually held to a pretty high regard. Entertainment Weekly has it as the #1 best Disney Channel original movie of all time, and like, no, it's not. But I do think there are elements that this movie does a lot better than most Disney Channel original movies. An example of this would be how this movie makes the whole a dead parent thing not only relevant to the story, but also made in a way where, for once, I feel like it was actually trying to teach kids who are in this situation how to deal with it. Not just by showing it from Ben's side, but also Nick's as well. They portray that situation in easily the most realistic way that I've ever seen from a DCOM ever. I actually feel like the story was built with the purpose of getting that message across to kids instead of it just being shoehorned into it later. I gotta say, I didn't cry or anything, but a couple of those scenes definitely moved me, to the point where if I do at some point lose a parent, I will not be rewatching this movie. I think that part of the movie is handled better than most other DCOMs. I also think that the plot is really fun and imaginative with some fun sequences here and there throughout it. It truly is an A1 idea. The only thing holding it back was the era that it was made in. I honestly think if this was made a few years later and given a theatrical kids movie budget like Spy Kids or something, this could have actually been a generational movie. It's pretty short, so an extra 10 minutes where we just get some insane scenes showing off the capabilities of the house would have been sick. But unfortunately, the rest of the movie is just kind of boring though. Ben and Nick are only interesting characters when they're dealing with the mom subplot. Outside of that, they just kind of feel like one and done characters that you would see in an episode of Goosebumps. Characters that aren't designed for you to get attached to, so they barely put anything unique in them. I didn't really care about much that was happening the first like 40 minutes of the movie. And I think part of the issue is that I'm not watching this in 1999. I'm watching this in 2025 after reviewing dozens of other DCOMs, so a lot of the movie does just feel stale to me, despite its really fun idea. I feel like it was kind of held back by it being a 90s movie, but even with that being in mind, I think there could have maybe even more moments to show off what the house can do. Then again, there is a lot of VFX in this movie, so maybe they really did reach a limit. I don't know. I think it's an average DCOM with above average moments, but if you grew up watching this, I can totally see why you like it so much. It's by no means a bad movie. As you can see, I did not do a lot of complaining. I'll probably give it like a 6 out of 10. I feel like that's fair. What I want to know was what you thought about the movie though. Let me know in the comments below. Never realized how much that rhymed until now. Check out my Patreon if you want to see content earlier than everyone else. Also subscribe to my second channel, simply titled Stalgia, for more of me. If you're new, feel free to subscribe and hit that like button, and like always, I am Mr. Nostalgia, and I'm out for now.